Johnny, come on. Our strength is we teach both styles equally.
I had to build Eagle Fang from scratch. It's not just a name. It's what it represents.
So I watched part one way too many times. Or now I'm this point, I need to become November already. Have you guys, as we're now approaching the premiere, have you guys kind of like been keeping online, just looking at theories and what people are saying already about what's coming up, and what are you thinking so far?
You know, we're seeing a little bit. It's interesting because with the first 5, you know, for example, you put a trailer out there, and normally when you make a trailer, it has 10 episodes to work with, and there's a little more that you could show. Whereas in this, it's like, because there's 5 episodes, you're like hiding more things. You know, so it's fun to see like people speculating about what's in Miyagi's box, and seeing sort of, you know, different speculation about about the conflict between characters and all that stuff. And it's, you know, we enjoy this every season. We love how the fans are their own version of a writer's room. They're there and they're thinking, oh, I think it's going to be this. I think it's going to be that. And it's all based on like a few little morsels that they have to work with. And it's just a lot of fun.
And let's talk about Miyagi for a second, because I'm always fascinated by how each season has always kind of expanded upon a little bit more, you know, what's in store for him, what he has done, you know, what he has done previously that we didn't really see in the movies and whatnot. How does this haunt Daniel? Because I mean, anytime he learns anything new about Mr. Miyagi, it just feels like he's like his entire world is turned upside down. He's like, whoa, like. Yeah, this all other side. So how does this follow him throughout parts 2 and 3? As this because this interview will be run as a post-mortem, so you know, talk as many spoilers as you guys want.
So I mean, this is giving the glimpse of what if you find something out about someone you respect who's no longer here that challenges your opinion of them, or that starts to create at least a treasure map that will challenge your opinion of them. And how does that, you know, land differently than just learning something that's a different kind of positivity or a different kind of neutral item? When you don't have that person here any longer to ask about, your mind can run wild with the possibilities, with seemingly no answers in terms of, does that mean everything I was taught was inauthentic? You know, does that mean I was lied to? And it, you know, we're trying to deal with the humanity of what it is to lose somebody and never know the whole person, which is a little more real. You know, you can go your whole life and, you know, never know some aspect of a parent or a grandparent that may have influenced, you know, who they were at least a certain part of their life or a certain phase of their life that maybe they didn't share with you, maybe they didn't dwell on, maybe they didn't consider that, you know, the part of themselves that they wanted to show to you because of their relationship with you. But that still can feel bad, you know, especially when you're so close with somebody. It can feel, you know, how could they not let me know their full self? So we try to get into the reality of that and the groundedness of, you know, of what it is for Daniel to start seeing Miyagi as a person, as a human being, and not a saintly figure.
I also want to, because episode 4 is by far one of my favorite episodes of the whole series, because again, I'm like, all these pair-ups, all these scenarios. So like how many drafts or versions does this script go through for episode 4 before landing on the 6 that we do get? Or was it always planned like, these are the 6, we're just going to find our way to the circumstances?
There were a lot of discussions in the writer's room about who, you know, how many people should go to the Sekai Taikai and which characters. In a way, it's kind of like you're in the front office of a sports team, figuring out who's going to make the cut. And that was intentionally what the story was for Johnny and Daniel. You know, we wanted them to sort of butt heads over who, the fifth and sixth people. It felt obvious that, Miguel and Robbie and Sam and Tory would, sort of make the cut if there were six people. But you start to question, okay, well, who would that number six be? You see the characters doing it on the show. But yeah, in the writer's room, we had these, spirited discussions. And, I think at the end of the day, as important as who is making the team, it's equally important what is the story for the character. And sometimes not making the team is the story and more interesting for the character. So those were the things that we talked about in determining, who made the cut.
I mean, I'll just add there, this is a post-mortem, so, we could talk about what actually happened there. You saw that Robbie is the captain of the team and Miguel is not the captain of the team. And, there is in the spirit of discussions for episode 4, there was, a contingent at one point that was advocating for Miguel not even to make it in the top 6. And there was a version of that going on there. And you end up working with every permutation of, okay, well, if Miguel doesn't make it in the top 6, you're going to want him to be there in Barcelona. So he's going to be the one who's, getting the spot when Tory leaves. But then what are the fights there? And you're thinking of the fight in episode 5. And it's like, in that scenario, maybe it would have been, Hawk versus Robbie or Dimitri versus Robbie or somebody else versus Robbie in a way that, we felt as a group had less juice to us and less rooting interest, less complicated elements going forward with them because of their relationship with one another and with, Johnny and all of that. So it's, there's a lot that goes into it. But the thing, when you bring up loving episode 4, we love episode 4 too. And one of the things that was really fun about that was there's, Kenny and Devin and Anthony and Dimitri and Hawk, like all these different characters that, aren't always the focus, where it's like usually Miguel and Robbie and Sam and Tory. All of those characters have their moments to shine and moments to focus on what's important to them and the choices that they're making. And it was just a really fun, dynamic episode in general.
You were mentioning Tory, and y'all are putting this goal through with this season. Every season that I've been watching, I'm like, okay, well, at least now, it's gonna be chill this year. But no, I get to the end of episode 5 and I'm like devastated. So was it always planned for her, going back to when you guys originally created a character and brought her into the fold, was it always planned that this was the fate her mom was always gonna face?
I mean, there are some alwayses and there are some, sometimes is, when it comes to the writer's room after season 1, it became a living organism. We had season 1 completely in our heads when we entered the writer's room for season 1. And it was more just telling the troops, what we're doing, who's going where, who bombs what beach, we take the castle and we do it. Once Creese entered the story, we started asking ourselves questions like, okay, we knew he was coming back, where's he living? That began a spirited discussion. The idea of Tory coming in and creating this antagonist for Sam, left a lot of new questions that we had to consider. And so some answers we had long leads for, and some became branches of a tree that was still growing. But we always knew that mom would go. We didn't know exactly when, but we knew we wanted it to be at a crucial moment for her character. So it wasn't just something that's happening and we're cutting to that and seeing, a more traditional, melodrama about, a kid going through something. We wanted it to have the Cobra Kai gasoline and the sparks that come with that. So this was the worst possible time that this could have happened, which made it the best possible time to do it. And it just becomes the alchemy of putting together the recipe in the writer's room about when and why and how, and the pieces of the puzzle have to fit together.
On the subject of Creese, we go back to the episode where we learn more about him and Kim's dynamic, how they met each other, and we see kind of his influence now with her students. Even though they're standing together at the end of episode 5, I had this feeling that Kim is going to regret deeply working with Creese. Like, how bad is it gonna get for her when she realizes that, oh no, I have let this man into the lives of my students because he's from this one episode alone, he causes all this drama amongst all these kids. So what can you speak about it as we go to parts 2 and 3?
Well, this is. I'm just trying to think. I don't want to give away stuff because this is after part.
Oh, give it away. It's totally fine.
Okay, I'll take it.
This is only after part 1, right?
Yeah. I'm kidding. I'm trying to fish you. I'm trying to fish for more spoilers.
I'll just say this. I think for Creese and for Kim, it all boils down to, are they how true are they to Master Kim and his teachings? And we get a glimpse of Master Kim in the first 5, and you see that he's the creator of Cobra Kai. Even though Creese created the name of it, Kim created the way of the fist. So it really boils down to what is, I'll just say the next 2 blocks are about them unleashing fury on Miyagi-Do with no mercy, and the question is going to be, are they willing to actually go through with that? Is one going to cave? And for now, what we really wanted to do was tweak them both going into this second block, where you see for Crease's character, he has been called out by Master Kim in a way of being somebody who's shown too much mercy. You think of him as this horrible guy, but Master Kim can find that one soft spot in him, and that soft spot is his student. And he in episode 2, sends Creese on a journey to kind of rediscover the Cobra within him. So this is the most dangerous Creese that we've ever seen. So to that end, Kim has to deal with that, but Kim Daeun also has to deal with the expectations of her grandfather. So there's a lot of motivation to unleash hell. And I think both of them have their reasons to prove to Master Kim that they're not going to show mercy.
And because again, I know the fans always love when there is connections to the past films and whatnot. Is there anything you can tease about that? Some phases from the past we may see when the show comes back this fall.
What was the question? Teasing characters?
Characters or elements from the past films that that we may or may not see throughout part 2. Now that they're at the Takai and everything. So anything you can speak to that without spoiling too much. If you want to spoil, it's perfectly fine.
No, I won't spoil, but I'll say in part 2, there will be a character from Karate Kid movies, from a Karate Kid movie in the past or so, who shows up in the middle 5. So there's something coming. There's somebody coming who fans have seen in the past. That's all I'll say.
All right. Well, on that note, I will thank you guys for your time. And again, I don't know what you guys have prepared for us in parts 2 and 3. I'm expecting more tears, sweats, and stress because that's what I go through with this show. And I wish you guys a lovely day.
Thank you so much, Andy.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Andy.
Of course.
At the end of the day, Eagle Fang is just another version of Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is John Creese's legacy. So I don't want to just teach offense only anymore. I want to do whatever it takes to help lead Miyagi-Do to victory.